Audio log Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. Michael Cook speaking. It's currently 4:19 p.m. I'm making this audio recording to use in a video that I'll be demonstrating in just a moment here, as soon as I switch over to the document. So, let's talk about the document. Profiling law enforcement conduct, June 28th, 2023. I just uploaded this, and I'm going to commentate on it. In this video, I'm going to examine two different incidents that sort of coalesce back into the common denominator, into a common denominator. That common denominator is when law enforcement take one side of a story and they refuse to entertain the other side of the story. Sometimes I'll run into people that hear me say stuff like that and they'll be amazed, or they will flat out tell me that I'm fucking stupid or ridiculous to think the things that I do. Well, I'm here to tell you that sometimes people are pretty careless, and in many cases they don't put a lot of effort into the stuff that I've been accumulating, and it's called evidence and even documentation, much like this document right here. Here's the thick and thin of it. People that are participants of the human race, they lie to each other on a daily basis. Some people make videos for educational purposes. Some people customize their content to be more friendly, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but I talk about a lot of that stuff in the audio recordings that I make, in the audio logs, right? And it's why I sound the way that I do when I'm presenting this particular video and document. Some of the words that I'm saying right now are ad-libbed. I'm saying them off the cuff, which means that I'm not preparing them ahead of time. I'm sort of constantly rehearsing some of the things that I say, right? Now I'm going to go back to it. Do they always lie? No, but in many cases, certain people lie at a much higher rate than other people would be led to believe, and then the end result is that when people like me seek to contradict those lies, they need to have some sort of evidence or believable story. Sometimes the true story is not very believable, even though it is true. That is because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Sometimes the true story is not very likable, even though it is true. That is because if we don't believe in free speech for those we despise, we don't believe in it at all. Sometimes the true story is ignored. That is because people today are incredibly distracted by so many things. Suffice to say, all of these things are why evidence matters. People should really stop watching shows like CSI Miami and Law and Order or NCIS or whatever the hell. On these fictional shows, the police always collect evidence and they always get the bad guy. They never ever show themselves doing the things that bad guys do. They never show themselves not collecting evidence. They never show themselves not reading people their Miranda rights. They never show themselves making unlawful arrests. Nah, they want all that shit to be incredibly difficult to believe. Stop watching these fictional fucking shows because they're just as credible as One Life to Live. And one of the unintended results of when people watch these shows is that people in society think that the cops always do this shit, right? And then incidents like George Floyd, that seems to happen a lot more often than people think, right? Where police use excessive force, or they act like tyrants, like they are showcased on Audit the Audit or Lackluster. Yeah. What often happens is that sometimes people will make up fucking excuses for the police, and they'll I'll get some of the wrong attention in some of the content that I make, right? I like to focus on educational aspects of the work that I do, but I often find myself having to take accountability for important people that have a reputation to be concerned about, right? And in their case, I have to take accountability on their end because they're incompetent and they're not going to take accountability for the mistakes that they've made in their position. Much like Joe Federa at the Town of Half Moon Town Court, or a couple of the police officers that work at the Clifton Park Public Safety Building for the New York State Police, or County Sheriff Michael Zerlo regarding SCSO 2020-028-501, and Captain Jeffrey Brown, which is now the Undersheriff of the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, Head Sheriff's Office, right? The reason why I'm like rattling off all these details is because I know that like some of these guys, like they make a lot of mistakes, and their idea of dealing with the mistakes is to ignore the fucking mistakes that they make and to avoid having a confrontation or a conversation with somebody like me. And events like Anthony Zemeski being shot to death by a couple of deputies who were assisting the DEA in an investigation, right? I'm sure there is some sort of excuse as to why Anthony Zemeski is dead, but, you know, when Barack Obama said sometimes you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, what he didn't tell people was that sometimes, like, the good guys make careless mistakes, and they don't talk about those careless mistakes that they make. If anything, they will change the subject and try to talk about something else whenever they do make those mistakes. If people don't believe a particular story and they're too lazy to consider the supporting evidence, that means the person is fucking stupid and it's perfectly acceptable to insult them for it. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and people lack the capacity to know that the things they believe are fucking fictional. Sometimes the authorities are responsible for perpetuating fictional stories as fact, and they get paid to do this too. When I use these curse words, it is typically because formally talking to people doesn't actually make a difference in many cases, if not in nearly every case. Talking to people formally isn't a bad idea, but sometimes they will use these various psychological manipulation techniques such as distractions, redirections, excuse having, and even your standard issue run-of-the-mill false statement of doom. It is colloquially referred to as bullshit, and in some people don't really know when the false statement of doom has been used against them. Sometimes people will assume the truth is the bullshit and the bullshit is the truth. They may even roll their eyes when you indicate this because they're fucking miserable. Simply put, the false statement of doom is not unlike the flaccid penis of doom. They have to take something artificial like Viagra or Cialis to get it up. That happens in society a lot, let me tell you. That's why some people will call the truth bullshit, and they continue to drag their lazy limp dicks and just think of the dumbest fucking things they can think of in order to get rid of somebody, especially if they're annoyed by that person. Nah, if somebody feels annoyed by a particular person coming around asking questions and stuff, in many people's minds that means the person asking questions is less important than you are, so it's okay to say, do whatever you can think of to get rid of them. It sounds stupid, right? Well, it is. But that is what so many people think. And then they may even be stupid enough to say, I don't think that at all. Yeah, well, actions speak louder than words. That means when they may say these words, but the words are cosmetic and shallow, so they're not genuine. It's not unlike when someone says I love you, but you know they don't even mean it. It's like catching some girl blowing some other dude, and she stops for a second, pulls that dude's dick out of her mouth and says it's not what it looks like, or I love you, and then she puts that dude's dick back into her mouth and continues from where she left off. Sometimes you have to call it like you see it. If you just saw some girl blowing some other dude that isn't you, and then she pulled that dude's dick out of her mouth to say it's not what it looks like, it's exactly what it looks like. In that case, the words that she said are meaningless because her actions contradict what she fucking said. Unless, of course, someone is pretty fucking stupid and they trust the girl because of her appearance alone. The reason why I'm bringing up all of these analogies is because the police often do shit just like this. The action is the principle that you should look at to judge whether or not they're fucking lying. If anything, swearing causes people to realize that I get pretty aggravated by people who can't understand what the hell I keep saying, or they doubt what I'm saying. That's why I record audio recordings and I make videos, because people have a lot less to use as an excuse or to doubt when I capture the stupid shit that people say or do. Script: how to investigate stuff so that the police don't have to 1. Investigate stuff, 2. Break a nail, 3. Ruin their mascara or cry, 4. Break a sweat, or 5. Whatever. If you get a cop that has to do any of those things, and by God, if you catch Undersheriff Captain Jeffrey Brown, asking, what do you want me to do? Climb up on the towers and make sure all the wires are plugged in? That is a joke. You might catch that in one of the audio recordings I recorded, like back in February 2nd, 2021, right? But, if you get a cop that has to do any of those things, then you're screwed for the rest of eternity, and you may as well give up on your life because there's no coming back from that. Don't expect them to be very friendly or helpful if they have to resort to doing any of those things. Though I'm sure they'll be okay if they have to do any of those things. it's better not to have to take your chances. Do the work for them so that they don't have to. They'll thank you later. 2 class definitions to put some exhibits together. I'm going to end the recording, and then I'm going to play the videos. And look. Michael Cook here. Today is June 27th, 2023. We got multiple sheriffs at the Clifton Park Half Moon, or the Clifton Park Fire Department. You know, they're just all sitting there. It's about almost 8 o'clock. Must be a shift change. A lot of them are just chilling in their vehicles over there. You know, I recorded a video yesterday of Lake Samuel Spezial being at Lake Stewart's. And this is where I have another recording of Lake Samuel Spezial and Jared Gardner and a couple of other guys that work for the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office. Like on December 22nd, when I said that Eric Catchall was just kind of chilling outside of the town of Half Moon Town Court after Justice Joe Federa and Michael DePresso had this secret appearance that I was supposed to be at, but then my attorney said that I wasn't supposed to be at that appearance, right? So like, here's what the public defenders do, right? If they know that you have like evidence that proves your innocence, right? Or in my case, like if my mother provides a false statement to the police, like she did on June 28th, 2022, right? If my mother makes a false statement to the police, right, will they do anything about it? What if I confront them and get them on an audio recording or a video recording, right? I already had like a appearance with, Justice Joe Federa. He's putting his window up. Oh boy.
What's up, boss?
How's it going?
How you doing?
Want to ask you a question? Yep.
Hey, what's up?
So if I had a court situation,
yeah,
and my mother lied to the state police on June 28th, 2022.
Okay.
And I also spoke with Captain Jeffrey Brown about this, and I gave him like a statement and everything.
It's under Sheriff now.
What's that?
It's under Sheriff Brown now.
Yeah, well, he's a lazy bastard.
Who is?
Him.
Okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have like evidence of that too.
That's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
No, yeah. So look, I have like an audio recording of my mother and I having an altercation on June 28, 2022.
Okay.
Right, and then Justice Joe Federa decided to send me to Saratoga County Mental Health for an evaluation, which lasted 10 minutes. The evidence never made it into the courtroom. They provided a lawyer that didn't entertain the audio recording, which provides my side of the story.
Yeah.
Right, and I said all this to Captain Jeff Brown back in February, and nobody did anything about it. So what happens if someone commits perjury on a statement? Do you guys ever do anything about that?
Yeah, if we can prove it, then they would be arrested. The only
issue
is, and the reason why Under Sheriff Brown probably didn't do anything at the time is because if the state police took the case, we can't step on their toes.
Right. Well, there was a sheriff that was there that did that asked me to come out of the house that day.
No, I understand that. So what we do is it's whoever shows up to the call first. It's their call at that point. So we're there to assist.
Okay.
And if the state police did the report, then you'd have to go over to their station or contact one of their supervisors to try to get a hold of them.
I've tried to do that too.
I mean, unfortunately I don't make the money that the state police make. Otherwise, I'd walk over there myself for you. But
yeah. So look, what I'm getting at is this: if my mother committed perjury on her statement, right, and I've made numerous recordings talking about what happened, I have an audio transcription of what transpired that day. I have given it to the public defender, who never used it in the court appearance, and basically my mother said that she was going to call 911, and I took the phone out of her hands and I had her in a headlock, but that's not what's in the audio recording at all. I told her I was going to call the police on her and have her arrested, right? She never made any mention of calling 911. Never had her in a headlock. And it seems like the state police just swooped right in and decided to make an arrest before they had their facts straight, which is typical, you know.
So I mean, yeah, it's not uncommon. We arrest people all the time for giving a false statement.
I get mixed reports about that. Other people tell me that it's very rare that you guys do that.
No, it happens quite often.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a tough one to prove, but once it's proven, we go and do it.
Okay.
That's why on the bottom.
Like if I go, like I have multiple videos of me like trying to talk to the police about the New York State Police about this, and like, let's say they drag their feet and they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I do then?
You got to work your way up the ladder over there, man. We can't step on their toes.
Okay.
If it was.
So if they just like telling me to kick rocks or whatever.
If it was a statement that she gave the state police,
right?
We don't have access to that. We can't look at that and prove that she lied. They would have to be the ones to do that. I would just start working your way up supervisor until somebody actually will go through with it.
You got a name that I could talk to?
I don't work for their agency. I don't even know who's the station commander down here anymore.
Okay. I would have thought you guys had better communication than that.
Not with our supervisors, no.
All right.
And then depending on what platoon is around, that's really where we go for that. So.
Okay.
And I don't know what platoon's working right now.
So you're Kay Rossi, right?
Yeah.
You're the guy that we spoke back in Price Chopper?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So do I get the paperwork from that event? Did they ever wind up doing the paperwork?
I really don't remember. I'm not sure.
Well, you told me if I go back to the store, I'll be arrested.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So how do I get the paperwork for that?
Well, so you were verbally told.
Right.
I told you.
Right, but I'm supposed to get a piece of paper.
Not necessarily. You don't have to.
Okay.
Were you there when I told you not to show back up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were advised.
But you verbally admitted in an audio recording that I made that night that I was supposed to get a piece of paper for that.
A lot of stores do, some stores don't. I actually just did it today at Olive Garden. I had to tell somebody they don't have a formal form, but I told them, recorded on body camera, everything's documented, that they're not allowed to go back or else they'll be arrested. So.
Who is that dude?
Sergeant Thompson.
All right, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for the whole issue with her allegedly lying on the statement, that's got to go through the state police. Unfortunately, I can't help you out with that.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So like, what happens if like they don't help me with that?
You got to work your way up the ladder over there. If
but I mean,
the supervisor won't entertain it, go to their supervisor.
Right. But I mean, don't you see that how it's like a catch-22? Like if I go to the supervisor.
I get it, man. If they're giving you the runaround, I wish I could help you with it, but I have no access to the statement that she gave the state.
What about the names of the officers that were at my house that day from your department?
The deputies?
Yes.
If you contact our records department, you'd be able to see who responded.
Would you be able to look that up without me having to do that?
I can't look that up. I have no access to the history over there.
Okay. The Captain Jeff Brown looked up records for me.
Hold on, I gotta take this back.
All right, listen, take care. Thank you. You know, sometimes I will have like conversations with the police that don't go all that bad or whatever. But like sometimes like I don't know, I've had mixed interactions with Kay Rossi. Now I don't think that like he's a total cheeseball based on some of his responses just now. Right? But you know, it does like seem to tell a story about how like, you know, if they're saying one thing versus another thing, which happens a lot, you get conflicting instructions from them. And you know, based on everything that's happened here, based on everything that happened back in like December 2022, it's like they're not going to do anything. They're not going to contact me back. They're going to fucking ignore me. And you know, that's why it is the way it is. And people are going to tell me like, oh well, you had an audio recording where your mother lied to the fucking state police to get you in trouble. And it's like, well, if we can prove that, like I attempted to hand the fucking state troopers on June 28, 2022. Like during the arrest, before the arrest, right? Before the arrest. So like, I don't know. It's fucking stupid. It really is.
Hey, please, how can I help you?
Yeah, so I'm looking to submit FOIL requests or get some records from your records department.
Okay. I'll see if they want to give me a copy, right?
Okay.
No problem.
See how long it takes. You know, I've made multiple videos being here, and you know, for all intents and purposes, I know that not all the people that work here are assholes or bad guys or whatever. You know. But yeah, I came here multiple times back in 2020, and some shit happened to me after coming here on May 25th, 2020, right? And you know, I'm not deluding myself here. That dude's cruiser is running, by the way. It's probably the same one that had the dog in it last time. You know, this is what I was like afraid of. You know, if I come here and like I say some shit like about how my mother committed perjury on June 28th, 2022, and how like the police decided to arrest me as soon as I told them about the audio recording. Basically, my mother committing perjury on the statement that she made. Right? What if what happens is this? If they can prove that someone committed perjury, but they just don't do anything about it because they don't like the person that they like the person that committed perjury over the person that didn't commit perjury. You know? What if that's the case? What if they do that a lot? Right? What if cyber criminals can steal money from people and they get away with it? What if, like, persons of interest have a dangerous program on their phone, you know, allowing some third party to see what everything that person's doing with their phone, right? Like, I can talk about this program for a really long time. And I can talk about the number of recordings that I made back in 2020, and I can talk about how, like, you know, see how it's like multiple minutes later and nobody's here at the fucking door, right? So, like, this is what happens. What it tells me is this.
You need a FOIL request form?
Yep.
There you go.
Trooper
Instructions are
Rufa.
right there. Me,
What's your first name?
Trooper.
Okay.
All right. There's nothing
Can I
to
ask
help
you
out
some
with?
questions?
Sure, what do you need?
So, I'd like to get your recollection of what happened on June 28th, 2022 last year.
Would have to look it up, I have no idea.
Well,
Anything
you had me in the back of the cruiser with the body camera on, and we walked into the station, and you put the body camera down, and then Cameron Macinas claimed that that was his body camera the whole time.
Okay.
Well, the reason why I'm asking for this record is because I want the footage from that body camera from that date.
Okay. So that's the paperwork you're gonna need to do. I don't know if they'll release body camera footage or not. All right, you're gonna have to contact that information there and see if they release it.
So another thing that I need to do is talk about how my mother committed perjury on the statement that she made. Because I have an audio recording of the entire interaction between me and my mother. I went through the court with, you know, I don't know if you're willing to talk about this with me.
So any court proceedings, that's totally different? Whatever
Well,
this
the
is
court already proceeded and everything.
Okay.
What I'm saying is like,
If the court didn't find any sort of perjury, then that's perjury is testimony violation. So if the judges and the DAs and the lawyers didn't find anything, then that's a moot
they
point.
prevented me from being able to submit it to the courtroom. They committed obstruction of justice.
So you're gonna have to take that up with whoever reviews that process, which is the process. There's judicial review.
The Attorney General's office.
Judges have their own review process, and so do lawyers. So I'd have to search up what it actually is, who oversees them. But it's not going to be the Attorney General. It's just that they have their own review board.
All right. Let me assume that everything started from a clean slate here, right? I'm going to assume that you don't know who the hell I am or whatever. Back on June 28th, I attempted to make a statement to Trooper Bosco and Trooper Macinas.
Okay.
And I told them that I had this audio recording of the entire interaction between me and my mother that includes the altercation.
Uh-huh.
As soon as I told them about the audio recording, that is when they decided to illegally detain me.
Okay. Well, what are you looking to have? I guess I'm confused. I don't know.
So my mother made a false statement to Sarah DeRusso to have me arrested.
Okay.
Some of the statements that she made are flat out able to be proven wrong by this audio recording. There's no I gave it to my public defender, and like he just like ignored it.
All right. So you could. Well, what happened with your court case? Is it all done?
It's done. Like they sentenced me to 72 hours in observation period at CDPC, and they kicked me loose within 24 hours because I told them what was going on.
So what are you looking to have happen then? Have it
Well, I mean,
or
like-
have they found not guilty, or?
I tried to speak with Trooper Bosco about it. I tried to speak with Cameron Macinas about it. I've had to make videos of like me trying to have conversations with the guys and everything, and even like the sheriffs and stuff. I've spoken to like.
Well, that guy him up the scene.
So, Bosco told me to talk to the lawyer, which basically the court appointed lawyer, just kind of like in one ear and out the other, and then they appointed a public, like a conflict defender or whatever. But that's a side point. I also attempted to speak with Cameron Macinas about it because I think that like he and I had some sort of unresolved issue that stems from me working with his father back in 2014. I don't think that is entirely related, but I did work with Robert Macinas back in 2014 with the drug bust unit.
Yep.
And, it was a very short-lived escapade or whatever, but like I had multiple interactions with Cameron Macinas over the last like 3 years.
Yeah.
And not all bad, but, trying to talk about like some of, I started my own company in 2018 to focus on digital security.
Okay.
I used to manage the computer answer shop on Route 9. I don't know if you've ever been there. The Trooper Levy, do you know him? Seamus Levy?
Yeah. I know Seamus. He retired as well now.
Yeah,
Rob.
he was a customer at the computer answer shop that I serviced a long time ago. He and I have had conversations before. Like, this will splinter off into multiple different aspects, and I don't want to talk about all that. But I did speak with Trooper Bosco. He told me to talk to the lawyer about it and to file a civil suit. And I was like, well, I kind of want to talk to like one of the sergeants, and like he's the sergeant. So like,
He also left. He's been promoted to a lieutenant, so he doesn't work here anymore.
What's that?
He got promoted to a lieutenant's position, so he doesn't work here anymore.
Okay.
So do you have? I'm trying to get, so we can figure out how to resolve. Was that you have an issue with how your case was handled?
Yes.
In the court?
Yes.
Or by the.
It's basically like I was arrested. I know that I was either on per patrol or it was in like the paper and everything. And a lot of people just like jumped and been like, well, if you had an audio, well, this is how people are acting. If you had an audio recording of what happened, then they would have done something about it by now. Yeah, they arrested me as soon as I told them about it.
So, yeah, I don't know.
And like,
tell you.
I don't look.
An answer for you.
I'm getting a lot of cooperation from you. So like, if you feel like I'm like coming at you, I'm sorry about that. I'll take it down a notch.
No, I feel like we're just two guys talking. You have some questions. I'm trying to help you the best I can.
Okay.
All right.
I'm noticing a lot more cooperation than like last time you and I had a conversation.
I don't really remember that.
You were at Starbucks.
That's probably why. Probably didn't have my coffee yet.
Probably. You know, coming to terms with the fact that sometimes I jump to conclusions too.
Right.
I make a lot of recordings. I profess a lot. That's why like I sound. I don't know if you notice. I sound like I'm rehearsing or whatever. And here's Cameron Macinas here.
Yep.
So look, I'm not looking to like start an issue with him. I want to have this case resolved. I want to have a retraction for what happened to me. I'd like to figure out what my options are at this point.
You have to take that up with the court to get anything.
I don't think I'm going to get any issues resolved with the court.
To get anything removed from your criminal record, or to get it expunged from your criminal record.
They dismissed the charges.
All right, so.
But the thing is, it's a matter of reputation. You know, a lot of people have heard that like I had my mother in a headlock and I choked her out and everything, but that's not what happened. She assaulted me, and I have like an audio recording of me like telling the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office 5 days before that like my mother had been assaulting me, and like they don't take me seriously. I don't understand it. Maybe it's the way I come at these guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. And as far, I mean, we're not going to like print like a retraction saying like the charges were dismissed or anything like that. And we normally don't release anything in the press. Anyways, we haven't done press releases. Maybe back then. You said this was 2020?
2022. It was last year.
Yeah, so I'd be surprised if there was a press release or anything on it.
Well, I don't know if there was or not.
Yeah,
but I mean,
because we don't really do those anymore.
But basically,
new laws came into effect, and we really don't do those.
I went to talk to my aunt about it. What my aunt was told that there was a warrant out for my arrest. There was no warrant out for my arrest. They asked me to come outside.
Yep.
And like I willingly came out because I had the evidence on my phone and I was going to show it to Trooper Bosco and Cameron Macinas. I don't know if like my rule right to counsel applies and I can't talk to him about it, but that's what I've been told. I can't talk to Cameron Macinas directly about the case or whatever. But you were also involved in it, and you're having a conversation with me to some extent.
Well, the case is adjudicated, correct?
It is, but
so
the fact of the matter is that my mother committed like perjury on the statement, and like nobody seems to be taking that seriously. Like I had, like the audio recording that I had, like I didn't expect my phone to be recording it. I had no idea. Like I walk around and make audio recordings. I'd made a recording the night before because I had an altercation with a guy named Silfredo Vasquez. He pulled his knife out and we almost got into a fight, but I de-escalated that and I started walking around. And like what I often do is I make recordings of me just walking around.
Right. Yeah, that's
and
fine.
Sort of talking and stuff. And what happened was it caught the entire interaction between me and my mother. I kept talking to her about like what happened to my father when I was 10 years old. My father was murdered when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I think that more people were involved in having him killed.
Gotcha.
And like, like I'm not getting like any straight answers from everybody. I think it's sort of like it feels overwhelming. So like and it's overwhelming for me too. Like just because like I'm having a conversation with you and I'm saying it all right now, doesn't mean that like I don't want to have more conversations and sort of like fill in the details or whatever.
Right.
It's just like I don't feel like coming to the police station all that often to have a conversation.
I don't blame you. Most people don't want to be here.
Right. It's not saying that like I can't get along with you guys. If I'm having a conversation with you and it's going in the right direction, I'll change my attitude.
Yeah. I wish I could give you an answer because I'm not sure what the question is you're asking. So I'm not sure where to point you.
So, if I believe,
that form will help you get the record of all the investigations that happened that day.
will this only get me one record, or can I get like a blanket record of all my records dating back to 2020?
I don't know. The instructions are going to be on there. I think you'll have to request each individual incident because I think you might need the date, time of the incident for them to give that to you.
But I don't know, would I be able to get like a list of the incidents that I'm in? And when I submitted a FOIL request to the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, I asked for everything between a date range.
Yep. So there might be is there a phone number on there? I didn't look at it too well. Where you might be, it would be on that front part, I think.
There's a website there. It doesn't have the phone number. I think it's like 583-7000. The phone number.
Dispatchers.
Oh, okay.
So, you need to try the website. They might be able to have some more information.
Okay.
That's just the generic form to fill out to get it. I think that might just be for one record.
Okay.
But they might be able to tell you about the date range or anything like that. Because at that actual unit. Right,
Okay. All right.
So if you, best bet, probably check the website, and they might have a better way to contact us through email, and they can give you what you need and a little more in depth on the process. Like I said, that's for like if you wanted one record, like a copy of one incident. That's what we would fill that in and how we mail it in.
Okay.
Alright.
Well, I mean, I could also do it on the website, right?
You can do it on the website too. Yep.
Well, I mean, as long as I got the information, that's fine.
Yep. As far as your past case, the case from last year, it was already adjudicated.
It was, but I mean, like, I can prove that my mother committed perjury and everything.
That I understand. So if you have a problem with how you were represented, again, you would have to take that up with the public defender's office, and they have a process for review there, or the judge that orders something. And again, and I don't have that. I don't even have my phone to tell you.
See, the way it all felt to me was that the judge was committing obstruction of justice, and it was like they did everything they did to sort of protect the reputation of the arresting officers. That's my honest opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know without details to really tell you. But if the charges were dismissed, pretty much they're off your record. That's my understanding of it. Right? Charges were dismissed pretty much means they had you do this and the charges go away.
Right.
They don't exist anymore. There's no evidence you were arrested. I understand what you're saying. You're upset that somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm homeless.
Yeah.
You know, I've been homeless the last year.
Is there an order of protection in place?
Yeah, there's an order of protection. I can't go home. It's in my father's house.
Gotcha.
You know.
So that.
You know, they told me to go to DSS and everything. Yep. The state's already, the country's already in $32 trillion worth of debt. I'm not trying to add to it.
Right.
You know.
No, I understand that, but also they do have some services that would help you out if that's what you wanted, at least to be able to.
I mean, I have somewhere I'm staying, but like I'm not gonna get too descriptive about it.
Yeah, that's fine. So, but I understand what you're frustrated if your mom lied on that and they got you in trouble. I'd be frustrated about that too.
Yeah.
Going back.
It's like
since the case is already adjudicated, there's really not much that's gonna happen with that, especially. I'm going to say something, I don't want you to get upset, but it was a lower level offense. I know to you it was not. Right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, obviously, because I would be in jail if it was serious.
In the court, it was a lower level, so the fact they're probably not going to retry it or anything with new evidence introduced.
No, I understand that.
All right.
But I mean, like they told me at the court that like even if my mother did commit perjury, there's nothing that they're not going to do it. They're not going to chase down like whatever. You know, and what does that say for like the rule of justice?
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating, man. Been dealing with it for like 20 years. It's probably one of the most frustrating things on this job.
Well, that's what I said to the conflict defender. I said, you know, I've noticed on the bottom of all the statements it says any false statements made to the things are punishable by a Class A misdemeanor. But how often do they go and arrest people for that? I get mixed answers from you guys.
Yeah, we barely.
Because I figure, like, if you went after everybody that did that, you wouldn't have enough time to be able to do anything productive.
Well, the big thing they don't want is they don't want people afraid to come forward because they think if they leave something out of the statement or they don't remember something all the way that they're going to get in trouble.
So how does this process work? Where like if someone like makes a statement and then like they were mistaken, they didn't knowingly provide false testimony like intentionally, but they did it unintentionally. How does that work? How do you guys determine that?
There's no concrete way to do it, right? The memory is probably one of the worst forms of evidence. Right? Eyewitness is one of the worst forms of evidence we can have.
Right, but I mean, like, does it come down to like how serious the charge is or whatever?
Yeah.
Or, like, so it basically comes down to severity.
Yeah.
So if someone says that like my neighbor tried to hit me with his baseball bat on June 13, 2020. He came onto my property. I called 911 or the sheriff's office. The sheriffs arrived, and then my stepfather ran up to the Mark Sheehan and he said, "Oh, he's having a mental episode." And then like 3 parties lied to the Mark Sheehan in the statement, and then like instead of like pressing charges against the guy for trying to hit me with his baseball bat on my property, Mark Sheehan brought me up to Saratoga Hospital to be seen by a doctor. So I mean, like, what about that? Because I have some audio recordings that prove that too.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's gonna be 2 different kind of fields here. If you're upset with the performance of the officers on scene, you can always make a complaint to their people that control them, right? Their bosses.
Right.
If you're,
I've done that numerous
if
times.
you're upset about the legal.
I did actually come here like multiple times back in 2020, and the guy wearing glasses like told me that I needed to leave and get out of here. So I don't want to bring up the past. You know, it's sort of like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So I mean,
I'm asking you these questions for here forward, mostly. You know, how do I conduct myself?
I'll say this is pretty good. Ask questions. Stay calm. Always a bonus.
Yeah, sometimes that's hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard to do for everyone. I understand that.
Yeah.
Digital recordings are always a good thing to have. I don't know what happened that night. You had a digital recording when no one listened to it or saw it or watched the video.
Basically, what happened was it's like you know, it caught like it unexpectedly caught like the entire interaction, and like I accused my mother of having something to do with conspiring to murder my father because of the way she was acting. Like I kept trying to talk to her about my father's death and how I think that other people were involved in having him killed, and she like started getting defensive. It's all in the audio recording, and like my inhibition like at that point was like, I think my mother is hiding something, and she keeps trying to slam the door in my face, and that led to the altercation that you and Cameron Messinas and Trooper Bosco came to my house for, right?
Gotcha.
Like, so do I honestly think that she had something to do with killing my dad? I don't know, but the way that she was acting was she was being very defensive, trying to walk away from the conversation and slam the door in my face.
Yeah.
And I have multiple audio recordings of her doing this stuff. You know, it's like, maybe, I'm trying to figure out like, well, what's the point of it, like this whole conversation, right? So like, my mother and I had this argument, and like, it didn't turn violent, but like, I have like recordings of like her basically doing and saying whatever the hell she wants to about me and other people too. And what I've noticed is that when there's multiple people on the other side of a story, it doesn't matter what story I'm involved in. If I contact the police and there's multiple people on the other side, the police take that side. I've noticed that that's been happening a lot. That's why I make the recordings.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I would present the recordings as calmly as you can to show your side.
I think that's something I need to work on.
Yeah.
Sort of keeping myself at home.
And then there'd be a document, right? There's documentation about what happened, so it's kind of hard. They can't really take 4 people are saying that you're acting in a certain manner, but you have a recording of how the actual incident happened, then you know it's pretty hard to take.
Right.
You really can't. There it is. It's documented. Then we would document. We saw, you know, you recorded the incident. We either listened to it or saw it. This is what happened, and that's why this happened. Rather than just going, right, 4 people are saying this happened, 1 person saying this happened.
They have evidence.
Right. So it's kind of hard for them to not take the 4 people when the 1 person is trying not to.
Right.
So
basically,
that's why you go to court and the judge listens everything out and kind of.
I think they're rather indifferent. And now I think that they're indifferent. So like if you have something that proves your side of the story, if you don't have any money to pay a lawyer, they're just gonna do whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's not a perfect system. I'm gonna tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I know you guys aren't supposed to give legal advice or anything like that, and so I understand that. But you know, I've noticed a lot of problems with the system.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
All right. Well, at least we agree on that. Hey, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yep. Be
I'm
safe.
gonna make sure that after this conversation, anything that I might have said about you is getting recanted.
Man, people say stuff about me all the time. It's part of this job. All right. So don't
Well,
worry
I'm
about
sure it's you got to have thick skin for the job and everything. But like,
The reason
your
I don't-
demeanor here is totally different from the last time I talked with you. So,
Right. I don't work because with the dog I don't work like in this area a lot. Like I have a few days, so I don't always recognize people.
right.
So we had prior interactions. I'll probably remember.
Well,
now.
it was
It's been a
here the
little
day
while.
that I was arrested.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk with you and Cameron Macinas, and you know, the events of that day like still feel pretty evil in my mind and everything. But your demeanor today is totally different, and it's going to go a long way in how I think of the guys that work here and yourself.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that.
All right.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So after that conversation, that helps a lot. I'm going to end the recording.